claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there. So don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're going to pay the consequences for that. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody. Literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. Hey, everybody. Sorry for being super late, but we were having fun talking stuff in the back in the green room. It's a good time. George, thank you for blessing us with your presence once again. We appreciate you. You know, it's always nice to be able to talk to people that understand that things are off, you know, and are not only just people of profession, education, and are serious persons, right? But they're also taking action, right? It's one thing to talk a good game. It's another thing to really have a foothold in what's actually going on and being a player and being able to participate and maybe dictate something happening one way versus the other. And you know, it's not easy doing that in the world that we live in today because people are really incentivized to look at things in a way that might not really suit them. So when you take all these things into account, you know, it gives us kind of a funky equation, right? So when you start trying to strip where the properties of this equation are, what are the basic fundamentals of this equation, you get all these weird elements. And these weird elements lead us to do these weird things. And these weird things are very sometimes not well understood. And I think that MAD kind of falls in that bucket a little bit, even though it's obvious that what the mission is needs to happen. But it's like, well, how do we get to the stage where things are decentralized, but everything is so centralized, right? It's almost hard to imagine how do we get from A to Z. But it's like, look, we gotta at least get to B first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you know, it's a little weird. It's a little confusing for people because I know when I first started like trying to wrap my head around just what you know, just what a decentralized application was. Just understanding that was a little complex. So now we're entering a stage where you have companies or entities like MAD that are not really companies like we know them, but are really just an amalgamation of professionals that are trying to exert their experience, right, in their objectives in the entity mission statement and whatever the end goal of that entity is. And you know what me, RG, and Kinetics have started, and Funny Jim and Exo, and one of the persons that usually roams the chat have started MCA, which is something similar. A bunch of parties that are just trying to provide financial services to those crypto wealthy individuals, right? And it's difficult for people to wrap their head around exactly what these entities are doing. Why are they doing what they're doing? What is their purpose? What is their end goal? Why is MAD so important? I mean, look, I think we could talk every day for hours on end. And the thing about it is there's so much to talk about because there's so much work to do, right? And I know I feel like that every day I wake up. You know, my focus is on what information is relevant for today versus yesterday because things always change. Um, you know, how does MAD sit down and try to reconcile their position versus what they can and cannot do, right? Because that, I think, is probably the biggest question with what we're all trying to do nowadays, because we're trying to use crypto, which is the perfect tool to really obtain that value nexus, right? Without interference, because we can see with the Canadian convoys what these centralized parties are able to do with bank accounts, right? And if you've been hearing me stream for a while, you've heard me say this before. If you got money in a bank account in a bank that's FDIC insured, well, that's not your money. That's their money. So if they don't want you touching that, you're not touching it. And we've seen that in Canada, it's the same situation. America is clearly the same deal. Uh, GoFundMe, in fact, was the first entity that was used,
Yep.
and
That's
we
American entity, and they seized it
that's right.
here.
That's right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there you go. So again, we're here we're all here to fight the good fight in our own way, using our professional expertise. And MAD is just one of those endeavors that it's important, because we're all beholden to paying utility bills. We're all beholden to needing energy, to needing gas, to needing fuel, to needing petroleum, to needing whatever you want to call it. We all need some form of energy, and MAD is playing in that arena. So how does MAD really lay itself down in a foundational sense within the industry?
Well, the biggest thing that I think distinguishes MAD from other energy companies is the fact that we have taken the mission directly to the people and open it up to them,
Right,
through the tokenization of our equity, issuing it out, and making it available to all the folks, right?
yep,
So normally that never happens. Normally the management takes everything. Even in tokenization, when you do an ICO, the founders normally take 60% or something of that, nature, and hold it on to themselves. We are not doing that. We're the general partner. I'm one of the general partners. I'm one of the owners of the general partner, but all the ownership goes out to limited partners, who are the people out there in the world, and they are the answer to the problem of how do we make energy, how do we prevent energy from being sucked in to um, Davos, to World Economic Forum, to centralized global government control, right? Because
right,
that's the effort that's underway. That is
right,
the effort that's underway. And so we're seeing all the plans of the current administration are more and more and more about centralization of everything, whether it's our right to vote. They want that controlled by the federal government. They don't want that at the state level. If that whatever it is, they are centralizing that power. And the more that power is centralized, the more it can be abused. And the easier it is to go like what Justin Trudeau did, where he
right.
just declares there's an emergency, I am the king. There
Yeah,
is no parliament, there's no nothing, there's no civil rights of any nature. I don't like these trucks honking their horns outside of Ottawa, so I'm going to have them all arrested and thrown in prison. That's what happens when you allow all the power to be centralized. It is easily seized and abused. And so what I love about what we're doing is we're putting the ownership globally out there to the people. I mean, we have people who have invested in MAD and bought our equity globally, all over the globe. We have a map up on there. So how do you shut that down, right?
right,
The wonderful thing about being decentralized ownership throughout the world is it is very tough to clamp that down. It's like how did Bitcoin actually get there, right? It
right,
snuck in before anybody knew what it was, and then all of a sudden it's a decentral autonomous operating system that just goes. There's no management. It just exists, and you can't shut that down. How do you shut that down? You seize every computer globally. So if MAD is successful in spreading itself through all the people of the world to back it, which we're offering, I mean, it's right there on the website. You can come in and join. You can get on the team. You can, and it doesn't cost much. The minimum investment right now in one of our offerings is $500. So you can ride this train and be part of this deal for $500. That's why that we have really worked hard to make the price of entry very, very low and available to everybody. And that's why we've done it. Because what we want to see is we want to see an alternative system of energy production and distribution, which allows freedom and autonomy for the individual. We don't want Davos or some global command to dictate our energy to us. The people
Correct.
should be the solution to clean energy, and the people should be in control of that energy. Then they are free, you know? So that's why we're
100%.
bypassing all the banking houses. We're bypassing all the underwriters on Wall Street. We're bypassing Goldman Sachs. We're doing it direct. We're going direct.
Correct.
That's by design. That also, when we're successful, which we sincerely believe we will be, and there's some developments I can share with you today that are super cool. Then these people will not only be owners of an energy company that will be involved in providing energy globally, they will be wealthy
Right.
because
Not,
what they
not,
buy
not a
today
bad
when
deal.
we achieve our goal. Yeah.
Right.
So I think last time I was on, I talked about the stratification of our society, where you have guys like Bill Gates who have hundreds of billions of dollars, and guys like my youngest son, who's a stand-up comic, who's 25, who's only worrying about can he put gasoline in his car to get to his next gig, right? You
Right.
got some people that they can't buy shoes for their kids. They can't buy, they're worried about that. They can't pay the rent. But so that disparity is that is a dangerous structure. That is not a
Right.
structure that is sustainable over the long run. So one of the things we're doing is we're offering this ownership of this game-changing company out there to the people. And that's on our website right now. If you go to the Invest right now, that closes down, by the way, on February 27th.
Yeah. The
For that
the
opportunity to
actual
get in.
link is right there. It's mad.energy/invest if you guys want to check it out. For those that are not accredited investors, you would qualify under the Reg CF
That's correct.
product offering, and for accredited investors, that'd be Reg D. And again,
Yep.
it's not to sell you; it's to get you involved. And I think that that's the unique difference in what entities like what MAD is doing. That's the difference, right? Because it's about democratizing what we decide we should do with energy, with our energy
I call it
sources.
the democratization of capital. You know,
Right,
it's the
right.
democratization of capital. We're bypassing Wall Street. We're bypassing Goldman Sachs, and this is laying it out there to the people. You know,
That's right.
so
That's right.
that's what we're excited about, and that's why Matt, I think, is different than any other group. Look, every energy company has lawyers like me. Every energy company has experts like Walt Peter. People who run the operations like Steve
Cookie cutter.
Youngdahl.
Yeah.
We got all those disciplines. So in that way, we're normal. I would like to think that we have better of those than all those other guys, but that's because I chose them.
Of
But
course.
well, yeah. But the thing that really makes us different is that we are the people. I call this CF offering that you mentioned the for the people offering,
Right.
because it's the only reason we're doing it is to allow everybody to get a piece of this action, and
Right.
get involved and be part of the solution.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's really cool. Get excited about it. I wish I could, by law, you can only run these things for a certain period of time.
yeah, yeah.
So February 27th, it turns into a pumpkin, and there will never be another opportunity to get in mad at $500.
A
You know,
pumpkin.
the next one
Yeah.
coming up is the next one coming up. The minimum is $2,000. So,
Wow.
people
There you
want to
go,
get in. They
guys.
should take a look at that.
Yeah, that's a 4x from here to then, and that's by regulation. So
That's my rug.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, this isn't a paid advert. Actually, it's a call to action, right? I mean, you either want to participate or you don't. There's nobody's putting a gun in your head. I don't know why your comprehension skills are off tonight. Work on them, bud. Nobody here is forcing you to buy a damn thing. We're talking about the actual problems that exist in this world. And you know, the reality of life in the 21st century is that people have been complaining since I've been fucking born. And now, guess what? There's an opportunity for you to take action and do something. And it only costs 500 fucking bucks. It seems like a small price to pay for some fucking economic liberty in the form of energy power. Right? I mean,
Yep.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But when has this opportunity ever existed? Imagine being able to buy in a Standard Oil back in the 1850s
Exactly. For 500 bucks.
for 500 bucks.
And what would that 500 bucks be worth? You know, imagine Microsoft. Imagine being at the beginning of Microsoft. You know,
Correct.
that's I like to think of this as that opportunity because we are in a major paradigm shift. You know,
Across
Microsoft was from massive computing systems that did those vacuum cards. You remember with the stamps, you know, the little holes in them and everything, the IBM cards. Going from that to going to home computing. That was a major paradigm shift, and Bill Gates became a billionaire because of that. Then we had a paradigm shift basically from analog to digital in all of our communication systems, and Apple and, you know, Microsoft once again, and all the phone companies and things. Billions of dollars of wealth was created in that shift.
Right.
And now we're at another shift. And,
but
you
the
know, we
difference
even
in this
simple tech.
shift. Go ahead.
This
go
is
ahead.
a shift.
This is a
shift from, and it's a major, it is totally, absolutely a major shift from fossil fuels to non-fossil fuel use and cleaner energy. And we have the suite of techs that is going to get us there. And we are deploying those. And that's what's so much fun about what I like. And, you know, people go, well, what happens if the CF raise isn't filled? Well, nothing happens. I mean, we've got the D, as you mentioned, with our accredited investors. We're taking in tens and tens of millions of dollars over there.
Right.
The only reason I wanted the CF is to make, I'm concerned about the stratification of society. I would like as many people as possible to have the opportunity to become wealthy. That's what I love about crypto. Right. Guys, you know, I've talked to a lot of guys that are multimillionaires in crypto that just got in early, and they're like retired military guys, they're truck drivers. I mean, I love these people. I love to see that. And that's what Matt is trying to do with the CF offering.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, here's a reality. There's just not a lot of opportunities for people to be able to affect change in an effective way. Right? Buying some Royal Shell stock is not affecting change.
No.
Right? Like, it's just not doing
You know, all the value's been squeezed out of that.
100%,
You know what I mean?
100%.
A long time ago.
Yeah, here's a decent question we can answer. How is MAD going to be capitalized?
MAD is capitalized through a Reg D offering that is out to a bunch of people that are accredited investors. That is also online, and that is a tokenized equity, which we issue electronically to the people who buy it. That is a $250 million raise. We're well underway there. We have upcoming a Reg A raise, which I really like because it's not to accredited investors. Yeah, look, I don't mind wealthy people. I know wealthy people.
Purchasers.
I've known wealthy people all my life, right?
Yeah. But everybody's not the same. Everybody isn't on TV, right? Everybody isn't what you think they are.
Right. And what I don't like is the idea of the accredited investor thing. You got to be a millionaire to make money.
Right.
Well, you know, that seems unfair to me. So we're focused. We're doing all that. We're doing that. We're raising all those millions of dollars. Not a problem.
Hey, George, I am
what
sorry.
What is going on?
You're going to fix your audio if we can here.
Uh-oh.
Give you a new mic.
We're going to mute you for a little bit, George. Please, so we can take care of the mic over.
All right, well, let's get Fawn on here because there's going to be a, you know
all
what
right.
I mean? I mean, come on, Fawn. There you go. Yeah.
There you go. How's it going, Fawn?
Unplug this guy and we should be good.
Perfect.
Sorry to interrupt.
No
Well,
worries.
I mean, anytime we get to see Fawn is a good time. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
She's a Disney princess. You know, I hired her off of Disney. You know that, right?
Oh shit! No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, just look at her. You know she's a Disney princess. Come on, back into the picture. Come on. Come on. No, she's there. You
Don't be
go.
shy.
Come
There
on,
you
man.
go.
Come on. There you go. Come on over here. There you go. That's it. Fawn Youngdahl, everybody, our Disney princess and tour guide here at Make a Difference Ventures.
There you go.
We love Fawn.
Oh man! Well, it's always great to watch these interviews and live streams. Wales, it's awesome to be watching you again here. So,
Thank
So
you.
my audio
Appreciate
is bad, huh? You sure it wasn't just my voice?
It's all good. We have so many shows today, you know, but it's not bad.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
very good.
I mean, George, if you weren't so popular,
we might lose the video just for a second here, so apologies for that. Hang on one
No
second.
worries. No worries. So there was a question in the chat if you have to be domestic, U.S. only to invest, and the answer is no. It's open internationally. And again, the whole purpose of this conversation is twofold. It's to make people aware that there is an investment opportunity here that is available for the average investor, which is typically not the case, which is a good thing. So it's important people understand that. And that's what this is about. That's one of them, right? The other prong is merely just understanding that there are energy solutions in this world that you're just not aware of yet, and that's what this conversation is about. On top of the investment opportunity for the average investor. So that's what's going on here. So don't be confused. This is a very important conversation. Because as you look outside and you look on TV and you hear all this stuff that they report, it's all misinformation, you know. And the problem with that is that you're gonna be looking left while you should be looking right, and the next thing you know, when you take that one look to that direction where you should have been looking, and that left hook is coming to knock your ass out, you're gonna wish you were looking both ways.
All right, now can you hear me? Is the
Yes, sir.
microphone better?
Is this
Mic
better,
check,
Wells?
mic check. Yes, it sounds great to me.
All right,
Awesome.
Wells,
Good
excellent.
stuff.
All right.
yay! Thank
Yo,
you.
dude, thank you.
Heck yeah.
And the
Apologies.
lovely Fawn Youngdahl.
Thank you guys for the intermission.
Yeah. She's the Vanna White of MAD, you know?
There you go. Even better.
All right,
Oh,
man. So where were we before we had that nice little interlude there?
Well, we were talking about just the whole purpose of MAD. Really, we were going about it in a roundabout way. And towards the end, we were talking about just the democratization of the capital structure.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where you were talking about the Reg A. Then that's when you kind of got cut off.
Yeah. So the Reg A is coming out in a month or two, and it will be also available to unaccredited investors.
Wow.
So that's really cool, and we like that. But in the meantime, we're always pulling money. The question that got us off on this is how we're capitalized.
Right.
But I'll walk you through an example that is happening right now. There's a country called Suriname, and it is on the east coast of South America between Guyana and Ghana. You know where that is, right?
Yes, sir.
I know you do.
Oh, okay.
Recently, they've had massive oil discoveries in the off coast there. And so there's a lot of offshore exploration and production. And these are conventional wells that are anytime you get crude oil out of a conventional well, you get what we call associated gas. So this is natural gas. Natural gas is one of the cleanest fossil fuels. It burns much cleaner than any other fossil fuel. But unfortunately, offshore, there's no way to get it. There's not an economic way that the big major oil companies can use that gas. So they do what we call flare of it. They flare it.
Right.
And so you see this massive black smokestack stream coming up. And the reason for that is that when they flare that gas, it is an extraordinarily inefficient burn. So
Right.
it's inefficiently burned. So there's massive carbon emitted into the atmosphere. It pollutes terribly. So I hate, I hate to see flaring. Well, we've put together a partnership in that country, and we have put together a system where we have taken a piece of land together with the government of Suriname, and we are gathering that flare gas, and we are going to bring it back in, and we are going to liquefy it through liquefaction, freeze it down to negative 170 C. So when we gather that gas, we prevent massive pollution into the air. So where's another place where there's massive pollution from energy production right now? Germany. They shut down all their nuclear plants after Fukushima, and they went to using lignite, which is the dirtiest form of coal, to do all their power production. So we're able to take the gas that would have just been flared, bring it in, liquefy it, and then put it into tankers, LNG tankers, ship it to Germany, and replace that lignite that's being burnt in Germany. So talk about a really cool plan, because it's a double win, right? We're not flaring. We're getting massive,
Right.
reduction of pollution there.
Yeah.
Plus, we're shipping it to Germany to replace the dirtiest form of
Yeah.
fuel and use the cleanest form of fuel, which would
Right.
have just been flared to begin with. This
Right.
is such a winning combination, and we're doing it in partnership with the government of Suriname. And MAD is the one that has been leading together. Our team has been leading this. There's local players and there's all kinds of partners, because this is a big deal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Major.
we now have that deal, right? That's the kind of thing that we're doing to improve the world. But guess what? When we do that, when you solve a need like that, you prevent pollution over here. Guess what? The oil companies that would have flared that gas, they pay us to take it. They pay us to
Bro,
take it.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
so an earlier comment, oil found, I smell a conflict in the area. That's common. But look at what happened in this scenario. Not that.
Yeah.
That's unique.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's amazing.
we're preventing pollution from going into the atmosphere, which makes it a cleaner, healthier environment, not only just in Suriname by preventing the flaring, but then we're taking it and using that gas to replace the bad stuff that's being burnt in Germany. So we're getting a double, right? We're
Yeah.
getting a double
Yep.
win.
It's a two
Plus,
for, yeah.
because of the way we've structured it, the people that own MAD and the investors in MAD, which is all the people we're talking to that have come in, they get, I mean, that makes money, guys. So that's the value of being an owner of MAD. You're doing good things, plus you're creating wealth, and plus you are changing the planet and cleaning up the planet.
Yeah.
Trust me, oil is oil. We're not going to get rid of the oil industry overnight, but MAD is not going to be involved in straight up dirty oil. That's not our mission. Our mission is to clean up the environment. I want my kids and my grandkids to have the cleanest possible environment that they can. That's in our mission statement. That is everything we do. So there's no conflicts with what we do,
Right.
So
Right. I
that's an
mean,
example. I wanted to walk through that example so that people could envision what they're
it's a great
buying
one.
into.
It's a great
Yeah,
one. It's again, for oil discovery to happen in an area like that, and for there to not be conflict. I mean, that's pretty serious. I don't know if people understand how serious that is. In my
yeah,
country, for example, you can find oil deposits, but the average person doesn't even know that, because that's how suppressed that kind of information is, right?
right,
Because it's a resource, it's a natural resource that can be exploited for gain. I mean, this
right.
is real life shit. This is not,
Oh yeah,
this is literally a Bond movie, right? Like, it's not a game. People are out here really just trying to work the system to make money, and just exploit as much as possible and do as little as possible, because that's common. So
yeah.
this is all important stuff.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I know that last time we talked, I talked about the Coram brothers and that
Mm,
invented this wireless transmission
yep.
of electricity, right?
Yep.
And we've been working closely with them for years, and we're about to consummate our deal with them. We're going down to Texas, and we're going to be seeing them, and we're going to be putting a deal together next week. We're flying down there. We're meeting them. There's been a great deal of work behind the scenes, and now I can announce that we are at the cusp of that agreement where MAD will be commercializing in partnership with the Coram brothers and various investors that have worked with them, the wireless transmission of energy globally safely, which achieves Tesla's dream. But just imagine the impact that has on the establishment that is so centralized. Imagine what that does to the World Economic Forum, because they're not
Right.
going to be able to control that, right?
Nope.
Imagine having a receiver. Imagine being able to drive a Tesla endlessly and never having to plug it in,
Ever.
because you're just getting real-time electricity wirelessly into the vehicle as you drive. There's
That's
no
right.
charging stations. Imagine what that does for the environment there, because we can take we can when everybody comes home at nights and plugs in their Teslas, there's a massive crunch on the grid. If we're delivering that wirelessly all the time, that massive crunch doesn't take place. In theory, we'll be able to deliver solar energy from, the equatorial region of Africa when the sun is shining there during the day, and transmit it to the United States when it's dark on the other side of the globe, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we'll be able to take the intermittent level. The trouble with solar is that it's intermittent. It comes and it goes. But if you had a band of solar panels that sort of went around and followed the sun, then you could get constant solar power if you could transmit it wirelessly, which we can.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this revolutionizes the use of solar and makes it much, much more effective because it's not intermittent anymore.
Right. It's
That's
stable.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, because
stable
that's
because you just follow the sun. The sun is
correct.
always out somewhere. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Yeah. But the power source has now become stable versus it being intermittent, which is the problem
Correct.
with solar energy, is that the
Exactly.
fact, you just can't there's no way to store it, right? Like that's the problem,
No,
unfortunately.
I mean,
And people have
I had a
been trying
guy.
to figure it out, but it's difficult.
Yeah. Well, I had
It's
a
difficult.
guy ask me, about he wanted to do something where he wanted to power it by solar, but it had to be 24/7. And I did the calculations to look at the batteries that we would need. And we would have had to take the entire United States production of every single battery made for 2 years to be able to do what he wanted. And I said, look, it's just never going to happen. We have to
Yeah.
approach this in a different manner, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people say, I sometimes get hit as being anti-solar. I'm not anti-solar. I'm a realist. I know what solar can and
It's
cannot do.
math. It's not about being anti-solar. It's math, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's math and it's physics, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's
It's
about.
no
That's
debating
exactly
that.
right.
I mean, what's wrong with people?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I get it all the time, It's like when I say that there's a problem with electric vehicles and then we're using coal-fired power plants to charge them.
Oh my God! Look, I've
Well,
been
we are.
trying to explain this to people for months, and people like, oh, you're just a hater, bro. No, why don't you
Yeah,
just go
yeah.
read something?
Yeah.
Go
I
read
get
something.
people say you're anti-electric vehicles. No, I'm
Yeah.
totally pro. I love electric vehicles. I want
How
to
about some
power them wirelessly with
right?
geothermal,
How about some real
carbon-free
electric
energy, right?
vehicles? Yeah,
Yeah.
some real electric vehicles. Oh, we
Yeah.
lost George visually,
Well,
but that's all right.
can
We can
you hear
still hear
me?
you. Yeah, we can still hear you. So
Well,
that's
that's
all
good
right.
because losing me visually is probably a plus, man.
No Dawn, right? You know Dawn.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm sure Fawn's going to be back here in no time
Fawn,
flat.
sorry,
Look,
I said
here she
Dawn,
is,
but it's Fawn.
Fawn and Christian. There they are,
There you
man.
go. No worries.
He's been streaming and interviewing a lot today.
Yeah, if anything, this has been entertaining.
Yeah,
Well, it's overheating. It's about that time. That's all.
Yeah, baby.
that's okay.
It's quitting time. It's quitting time. That's all.
Let's put that on this guy right here.
So, Yeah, so we're going to be down in Texas, and we're going to be going through that tower, and we're going to be
Right.
doing some video. And when I come back, I'd love to stream some of that to your audience so that they can see exactly what we're
For
talking about,
sure. Yeah, that'd be
and know
great.
that I'm not really just full of it when I talk about being able to, transmit. Because when they see this, I mean, there's nothing like seeing to believe,
100%.
And
100%
then,
agree with you.
we're going to send some crews down to Suriname to get pictures of exactly what we're doing down there. We're going to start showing people a lot more so that they can visualize,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. It's easy to talk, much easier to
yeah,
show.
yeah. I mean, when they understand, when people understand exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, and the difference between the old-fashioned way of doing it and the way that we're doing it here, and what it does for the world, I just have to believe that they're gonna go, wow, that's pretty cool,
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's why I think it's important to talk about the how, the what, the why, the wins, right? Like all of these
Yeah.
items that typically are ascribed to a story are relevant to endeavors now, because they're not just gimmicks to be sold. Like there's no profit motive here per se, right? The motive here is really, hey, there's an opportunity for us to take advantage of these specific infrastructure tools, right? Because that's what they are. They're
Yep.
tools in the infrastructure of our society that we can use. Oh, we lost George, to affect change. So that is what's important about this point in time. And I mean, look at crypto. Crypto is the same thing, right? You have all of these currents that crisscross this one simple piece of software called cryptocurrency. And you got smart contracts, you got finance, you got people trying to control logistical supply chains with this technology. You got all myriad of things being done here. And I think George is from Ohio, actually. We'll ask him on the kickback because I can't remember precisely where he's from. But it's taking all of those things into account, right? Like that's why it's important to know your history. That's why it's important to know more than just one topic. What's going on, George?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And the more people can get a broader point of view, and it's like when I talk to people about energy, I they'll initially they think this is gonna be boring as hell. But
Yeah.
when we explain it to them, and I think they begin to understand the importance of it. And when if you think about every single aspect of your life that is impacted by electricity. I
Right.
mean, what's not, right?
Right.
I don't think there's anything that's not.
Correct. Correct.
So, and then when we look at what everyone is concerned about, and we know that we can solve these problems, and then we roll it out where the people are engaged in being the solution rather than just being lulled to sleep
Yeah.
by, their masters, right?
Right.
This is
Concern,
all about,
trolling, and worrying
yes,
about things you don't need to worry about. Just get it done.
right,
Because
right,
the more you
exactly.
starve the beast, the better off we all are.
And that that really is the essence of it all. This is a structure, our financing structure. The question was, how is MAD capitalized? It's capitalized by the people. It's
Right.
capitalized by everybody out there coming in and joining the team. And then that makes us go. We've got rich people coming in with hundreds of millions. We got poor, regular people coming in at $500. We want them all because the more people we have, then the more money we put back into those people's pockets. They become richer. That's the MAD community. The MAD community globally becomes a power structure that the infrastructure, the existing establishment cannot shut down.
Right.
So we bypass the problem that Tesla experienced when he was initially trying to do wireless energy, with his tower, right?
Right.
We're
Right.
achieving Tesla's dream, and we're achieving it in a way that is decentralized with regard to its finance so that we're not beholden to a JP Morgan who can just squish us.
Right.
That's why we're doing it this way.
Correct.
That and to put the wealth back in where it should be, you know?
Right. Right. I mean, and
So,
that's kind of but that's kind of the sad thing. In a lot of ways, people feel like I can understand when people feel like they're being sold. But at the same time, it takes a certain level of understanding to realize that you're not being sold, right? Because
yeah,
it's not typical to have this kind of scenario where you're watching a stream, but in reality, it's also an investment opportunity that could not only change your life but also the world, right? Because what's being done here is something that is outside the system, literally, and they can't touch it.
right. We're
Because by the time
bypassing the
it's
system
right, because by the time they
because
figure
the
it out, it's
system,
done.
yeah,
That's
and the
that's key.
system would prevent this. The
Right.
system would prevent this. And that's why, you know, we work in a variety of means globally, you know.
Hmm.
We have people that go out there and do things for us all the time, like the people that put together the Suriname deal for us, right?
Right.
They did not
That's
have
Suriname.
MAD.
I don't know if people know what Suriname is, but you don't just walk up in there and do nothing. Period.
You know, but it's you know, it's a thriving economy now.
Well,
It's
now,
growing.
sure.
Yeah,
Sure, but I
it is
mean,
really
like,
coming together.
when you think about what it was, right? Like, you just weren't walking in there and just doing that.
Oh
You
no.
weren't. Yeah, you just
Oh
weren't.
no.
So you
But
need
the
to
good
have
that we
boots on
can
the
do in
ground.
Suriname is amazing, you know.
Right.
And the
Right. Right.
good that
Right.
we can do in other parts of the world through what we're creating in Suriname is impressive as well. There's a
Right.
lot of good stuff going on, you know.
So look at
That's
that.
just
It
one
even
example.
right. It even creates second and third order effects just from doing
Tremendously.
something in one place. That's outstanding. I
Yep.
hadn't even thought of that.
Yep. So we got that. We got the wireless thing that I'm talking about that we're going to consummate next week,
Right.
which will be so exciting because then we can bring everything. Everybody goes wireless, you know. We can bring actual pictures. We can say exactly how it works. We can, you know, we can show videos of the inside of the tower that launches the Zenith wave. All these things, you know. But
Nice.
they're so impressive, and so I'm so excited about where we are because you know we've been doing this now since November of 2019, and I've personally invested millions of dollars in setting it up, and we've raised you know tens of millions of dollars, and
Right.
we're doing you know we're achieving our goals. We're making very wise investments that make a difference, like the ones that I've described. If they
Right.
don't make a difference, we don't do them. You know,
Right. Right.
so
Right. Right. Right.
all this stuff, you know, it is at the end of the day, it is ultimately for the better of humanity. And our people that get behind us are, you know, when we hit our numbers, we will do very well. It's like our system of one of the things we're putting down in Suriname is another data center. I talked to you about the
Okay.
data centers last time,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we got that campus, 3,500 acres, and we'll be able to put a data center there, and we'll provide
Crazy.
all the clean power for that.
That's
There's
crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
Just out of nowhere.
yeah,
Just out of
yeah, and
nowhere.
we believe that there's geothermal capacity on this site, you know, so we'll be able to use our closed loop system geothermal, you know, which is the most advanced geothermal system there is, and we're pumped up about that too. So
Nice.
there's a lot of really good things that we're deploying right now that we're super excited about. And I'm glad to be able to, you know, when you're developing it and you don't have the deal done, if you talk about it, it messes up the deal.
Right.
So
Right. Of
so I
course.
could only speak in vague terms about things that we were doing. And now I'm
100%.
getting more concrete. And every time we
Yeah.
speak, I'll be more and more concrete because I've put that deal together in a document that I've got filed and it's done. You know, now I can talk about it.
Right. 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 Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's important for people to understand that when you're doing things in the real world, you can't just give away all of your cards, right? I mean, when you're playing a deck of cards or you're playing a game of cards, you're not just showing your hand. So I really don't understand why people expect people to do that. I think it's kind of ridiculous. So I don't ever expect those kind of questions to even be answered. You know, you got to just respect the fact that there's a process to things because, you know, the one question that I have in mind right now, George, I don't know if you can speak to this, is how can we bridge the gap that we're in right now, because in a lot of ways, MAD is in like a company like MAD is in a limbo. It's in a space of limbo, and the reason I think of it as limbo is because over time the goal is to have everything be, hey, you want to participate in this, you can. If you don't have to. That's it. Nobody should be forced to just do random things. Kind of like that's what centralized everything is right now, where mob rules, and it should not be that way. So my question is more tied like, what can you foresee the future being as far as going from what we have now as the typical entity structure that's very centralized to what MAD is, to what MAD could be, if that makes sense.
Well, the where we are right now is we have spent time developing and capturing opportunities that do make a difference with regard to our core mission, which is the cleanest energy and transportation that we can do, deployed as quickly as we can deploy, right? So we've stage one is you have to capture those opportunities and get into partnerships with those opportunities. And that's what we've been doing, a good deal of that. And we've been talking about that. Now we've captured those. We have the data centers. We have those data centers globally. We're going to be building those out. We're going to be providing that. By the time, that'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 gigawatts of power that MAD will be providing. That's under contract, right? That we have that mission. That is ours. Yeah. And those data centers are 40% less electricity, so they're more efficient by 40%, and they use 98% less water. So imagine just that positive nature of all that, the cleaner, better, more efficient, less water usage data centers. But MAD has the agreement to provide somewhere in the neighborhood, by the time we're done, at 25 gigawatts of clean power to those data centers. That's in the bank, right? We've got to perform, and we will, and we know how to perform. We have the contracts now. We know how to leverage those to do it, as you do too, from your experience. Right. So you can see when you have an extraordinarily credit-worthy purchaser on the other end, people say, how are you going to capitalize it? Well, we have a high credit rating contract that guarantees we're going to get paid. So you can take that to the bank. You can borrow on that. We'll have a combination of debt and equity, just like any infrastructure project does. But what we're super pumped about is that we already have the extremely high, the credit-worthy buyer on the other side. Right. So as we deploy those things, and we stand those data centers up, that they're stood up, and we provide the power, the revenue coming into MAD is just, it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. We love that contract, and we love that mission. We love the idea of taking what is now a relatively inefficient and dirty operation of data centers, cleaning them up, making them more efficient, more effective, and making the energy clean instead of dirty. So, and making money doing it, right?
Right. So let me ask you, how are investors paid out? How are investors paid out? I'm just curious. How are investors paid out?
Well, the investors are paid out of revenue that we are able to distribute as we grow on a quarterly basis.
Of course.
And so the interesting thing about it, the way we've set it up is, we're running it. We're the general partner.
Right.
If we don't distribute in excess of 5% return on the investment, then there's no distribution to the general partner.
Oh, nice.
So if you look at our limited partnership agreement, which is available at mad.energy, it's available for everybody to see, unless we perform, unless we do what we say we do. I come on here and I say, I've got really good financial people. I have really good industry experts. I've got a team of lawyers. I've got the financial guys. I've got it all, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, put your money where your mouth is, Mr. Wentz. Well, guess what? I did. If we don't perform, and if we don't get an ROI back to our people coming in, then guess what? The general partner doing all the work doesn't get a cut. And if we only perform less than 5%, we don't get any cut at all. And as we grow and as we return higher and higher and higher, then our percentage comes up. You've seen these waterfall things in financial documents that I'm sure you've
Yes,
dealt with,
sir.
right?
Boilerplate.
So, so what I wanted to do is align the interests of the people running the show with the people that are coming in, right?
Right. Which is
Our
what makes
interests
sense.
are aligned. If we
Yeah.
don't make you money, guess what? We don't make money. What's our incentive? We've got to perform.
That's
So
it.
when we're out there looking at deals like the Suriname deal, we know that if we're taking, flared gas and they're willing to pay us to take it off their hands, well, guess what? There's a very cheap raw material. Oh, it's not only cheap, we're being paid to take it.
Right.
That's a very good deal, right?
Yeah,
And
you
then
can't
we,
beat that.
yeah, then we put it through our liquefaction, facility, and we put it on tankers and we sell it in Germany. And we already know what we can sell it for there, right? And we know that they
Right.
desperately need it. I mean, if you open up the newspaper and you look at Europe, you know there's a massive energy deficit right now. There's energy
100%.
poverty. They're trying. Every single liquefied natural gas plant in the United States is running at total capacity to try to feed Europe because it doesn't have enough natural gas.
Hold on,
Well,
hold on. Did everybody hear that? He said trying, meaning they're not meeting the demand, meaning
they're
there's
not meeting the
still
demand at all.
opportunity.
Right.
So there's still a need for capital, meaning there is still opportunity to profit. Because if demand isn't being supplied, well, there means there's a deficit in in what's being
Yeah.
supplied to the market. So there's a price delta
Right.
there.
Yeah. I will just tell you, we made a public announcement about this Suriname deal yesterday, and
Hmm.
today we were approached by a nation state that said we'll take 50% of your output.
Wow.
That's
That
the experience and the expertise we're bringing to the people that I'm speaking to. And I'm saying, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I truly believe that the people need to be involved. And the people
Yep.
shouldn't be lulled to sleep. And the people shouldn't think that they can't be part of the solution to the problem. People
100%.
need to get engaged. People need to
100%.
get engaged. You know, crypto community, the reason I love the crypto communities, they're early adopters, they're thinkers, and they see the vision, they see what could be, you know, that, and what we're bringing them is the opportunity to participate in this. And they're responding. The HEX community has been wonderful, to us. And, these are the people that we want to see involved in being the solution to the problem, probably the most pressing solution the world faces right now.
100%.
If you look at the number of coal-fired power plants that are being built in India and China, it's massive.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean, the
what's
number of
interesting is
plants that
that
they're building is massive.
they're the fastest growing populations on the planet. Well, maybe China isn't anymore. They probably are on a decline now, but India is definitely still growing. So they have a need for even more plants as they continue to grow because they're not done. So, it seems like everything has to be put on a back burner when it comes to green energy for those economies, but everybody else has to kind of just bite the bullet and deal with whatever issue they have at hand.
But there's also an opportunity there, because if they're building those coal-fired power plants,
Right.
that means that their energy deficit is tremendous as well.
Right.
And
That's true.
those plants are not going to be sustainable in long term, right?
Right.
They're doing it out of desperation right now to meet the needs of their population. But if we are able to wirelessly transmit geothermally created electricity to India, believe me, they will take that rather than build more coal-fired power plants and pollute the world more and more and more. They understand that they shouldn't be doing it. They just don't know what else they can afford to do. But geothermal energy does not require any fuel. It's just created by the heat of the earth, right?
Right. Just
So
default.
really, we have a capital cost, right? We have a CapEx.
Hmm.
And then we have to build the towers and build the transmission of, the wireless transmission of that electricity. But then you amortize that over a 30-year period of life of the equipment.
Right.
We should be able to very effectively deliver lower cost electricity wirelessly that is created geothermally in the state of Idaho or Wyoming or wherever else there's all over the place. There's geothermal formations which are not being taken
Right.
advantage of.
100%.
And there's no ongoing fuel cost in that scenario.
I mean,
So,
imagine that. Imagine that. No fuel costs.
right. This is the thing, man. You got to, this is what I want people to see. This is what MAD is doing. We are getting to where we are going to transform the world because we will be able to free people up from the burden of oppressively expensive, polluting, dirty energy. And I just got sick and tired of not seeing it done when I knew it could be done.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's why having this type of technology, blockchain, decentralized capabilities is so critical. And that's, now it's not to talk about myself, but these are the things that I've been talking about, just decentralization of information, of knowledge, of being aware, being abreast, understanding the why, right? Because yeah, there's an investment opportunity here, sure. But is that really the end goal? Does that really matter? I mean, okay, it's important, I guess, sure. But in my mind, in the grand scheme of things, I think we need a societal change in general, with respect to what we consider as something of value in the first place. Because if we haven't learned that money isn't the value item by now, then I think we're not going to do anything to fix anything anyway. So it doesn't actually
Yep.
matter what we do. We're just wasting
Yep.
time and fucking twiddling our thumbs at the end of the day, regardless.
Yep.
So, I think the mission is ultimately bigger, but, right, and there's always a but. The but here is that we have to traverse all of these hills and all of these, peaks and valleys. We have to do it. It's not optional, because you can't sit here and pretend that you want something when you don't actually want to take any steps to go in that direction. It literally doesn't make sense, but people tend to do that. So you have to be aware when you're doing that.
Yep. That's exactly right.
I think it's one of those things where it's just, I can understand why it's confusing to people, but yeah, try not to get confused, because this is a point in time where you will be the first of the many in the future. And the first of what? Well, the first to be able to invest in anything in this way, because this is a new type of way of investing in anything, right? And
Yep.
and that's just not common. Like, this decentralized investment type of scenario is just not common. It's not common at all. In fact, it's unique, and it's something that's really only maybe 5 years old, maybe. I mean, it's just not.
Well, we're the third. We're only the third company to tokenize its equity and offer it to people
Oh, well,
online like
yeah.
that.
Tokenizing
We're
equity,
only the
right?
third
That's a whole
company.
different thing. Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. I'm just talking about regularly democratizing investment, and that's it. I'm not even talking
Yeah.
about tokenizing equity.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother level, right?
Yep.
Because now
Yeah,
you're
that's a whole nother
saying,
level. Yep.
yeah, now that's this one entity that owns this one representative piece of item that's valuable based on this thing.
Yeah.
There's never that you're used to seeing that from a stock market or something like that, right? It's
Right. Right.
never have you been able to just pluck it from the internet.
That is
Or
correct. That's the
yeah,
distinction.
yes,
And
sir.
that's where we can reach the whole world. That's why
That's right.
we have investors from all over the globe,
That's right. That's right. I
which is
mean,
so cool. I love that. It's like a
yeah,
worldwide movement of the people to address this problem and take it down as a community.
as a
And
community.
I'll give you something that I really think is cool. Hex, Richard Hardy starts Hex. Hex takes off. It's beautifully designed, right? I mean, it really is. And so it takes off. It creates a Hex community that now has wealth because they were in early in the game. They got in and Hex went up and up and up and up and up and up, right?
Right.
And I know, it's kind of been, in the 20 area for a while and stuff, but there's a lot of things going on in the world.
Yeah.
But people that got in early and staked, they're doing well. Now there's an entire Hex community of people who now have the wherewithal to make a difference, right?
Right.
So they
Right.
got in, they were smart, they were early adopters, they got in. Now they have the tool, the wealth to do something more. And that community that Richard Hart created has embraced the MAD project and become part of the MAD community.
That's
So
right.
what Richard did over here created that, and now that is creating this next thing that is attacking the energy issue worldwide.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, no, it really is, and it's the power of the global community working as a team to solve these problems. And
That's
that's what
right.
we're trying to harness here. That's what we have harnessed it. I mean, we are harnessing it. We've had the capital to put together the Suriname deal, the capital to put together the wireless deal, the capital to put together the the data center deals, the global data center deals, right? We've had
Right.
the capital to do our next generation computing technology, golden cipher. This method has worked. All those projects are done. They're all papered. They're all done, and we've put money into each and every one of them to get them there.
Right.
So this is where we start seeing the seeds of our labor. But the interesting thing is we're standing on Richard Hart's shoulders
Right.
and others, and
Right.
and I'll tell you what'll happen when we start funneling money back to the MAD community. The MAD community is going to go, hey, I want to go do this problem, right?
Yeah. Yep. I
That's
mean,
how decentralized economics, decentralized finance where you don't go beg your banker, right?
yeah.
Finance where you're not controlled by Goldman Sachs, right?
Right.
That's how we change the world. And that's what
100%.
I love about this program. That's what I love
100%.
about it. Yeah, man.
100%. Yeah. I mean
They
that.
can't stop us.
No, they cannot. And I think that this is why when people ask me, well, what's the solution? What's the solution? Because I talk about all of these issues that are going on in the world, current events, and how they're plaguing society and all this obviousness. And people always ask me, well, then what's the solution? Because people are always too lazy to think for themselves. So I give it to them. And the solution is educate yourself. Because if you don't know what the problem is, how the fuck are you supposed to know that there's a problem in the first place? Because clearly you can't see that there is because I have to
Yeah.
point it out to you. So
Yep.
the step one is go learn something.
I always tell people, what's the first step of getting out of jail?
Mm,
You got to know you're in jail.
there you go. That's step
You don't
one.
realize that, man. You ain't never getting out, right?
Nope.
So,
Nope. You gotta start
yep.
somewhere. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But hey, George, do you got much more time, or can we keep going? I don't want to keep you longer
what
than we
time
have
is
been
it
here.
here? Is
It's
it 5:30?
yeah, about to be. It's about to be. Got about
Yeah.
7 more minutes.
All right, great. Well, I've got about 7 more minutes because I am supposed to do a phone call around 5:30.
All right, no worries. We'll give a couple more minutes, not to keep you too long, to give you a break because I know what that's like. It's very annoying. And then we'll let you go. So, man, look, I gotta say, I think what's going on in the world today, as far as our side of things, is very important because what's happening is that we're allowing people not only to get involved but we're allowing people to learn new things that they didn't know before and how they affect them and how they can get involved in tackling the issue that directly affects them. And this is supremely critical because how else do we get to that point where we actually see and affect some kind of change, right? And I mean, when you look at what's happening around the world now, um, you know, people are causing these changes. You know, it's not happening because we got nothing else to do. It's because we're saying, hey, let's not deal with this crap anymore. We cannot tolerate this. And people go on ahead and make that happen. So, you know, let everybody know a little bit about where they can find Mad, where they can find you. And if they want to learn more, understand what Mad is doing, you know, where they can go and do that. And we'll wrap it up, man. I got to say thank you and appreciate you. And I appreciate the work that you guys are doing over there. And, you know, I think it's important. Everything that we can tackle ourselves is important because that means that we come together to dictate what the terms are. And just like when you are able to put the right people in front of a problem, if there's one thing that I've seen is that decentralized communities specialize in that. And with that, we solve issues in an efficient and expeditious way. And you can't beat that. You really can't.
That is a fact. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Well, listen, man, I love talking to you, Wales, and I can't thank you enough for having me. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy you so much, and I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
So, and I always learn something from you every single time we talk. You know.
Oh wow, how about that? Okay,
Yeah. No,
that's
good.
a compliment.
No, it's good. I always do. You know, you have a wonderful perspective, and I love the way you share it. So,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
it's a real honor to be on your show.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Wow, I appreciate that. Hey, you guys go on ahead, go to mad.energy/invest. Find out what's going on. Find out if you care. That's the only way to determine if it's worth your time, right? I mean, if you're not worried about how they control how you eat, sleep, and all that, then, you know, good luck to you. But, you know, it's a problem for all of us. So, you know, maybe take a little look.
All right, my friend.
Man, a pleasure as always. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We love you guys, and we're going to play this outro. Thank you, George, for tuning in or for joining us. And thank you, everybody in the chat, for tuning in. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you.